Ready?
Ready?
Hey everybody, it's Alex Sigrist, and I'm here with another Alex Uncut, number 7 this time. Every Wednesday, I answer questions from the previous week's comment section. The reader outside of here, who today is Mika. Hey Mika.
Hello.
Will be giving me 3 questions at random. I gotta choose one of them to answer long form, and the last 2 I'll save to the end to give a little bit of a quick answer on those. So, as a reminder, if you have a question that you want me to answer here, please don't forget to leave them down below. I'll do my best to get through all of them, or as many as I can. And hey, it's a lot of fun. No edits, no cuts, just raw 4 to 5 minutes of whatever the question is. Are we ready, Mika?
Yes, we are.
Nice.
Question number 1.
Let's do it.
You can only have one looks or personality in your partner.
Looks or personality?
Yes.
Okay, number 2.
How do you find motivation to be happy on bad days?
Number 3.
Number 3. What are your top 10 things you've gotten accustomed to in Korea and think it would be hard to give up?
Oh, man. Wow, 10 things? I gotta come up with that. That's a compared topic.
Let's make it 3 things.
I got it. I think I'm still gonna go with, how do you find motivation on a bad day? We all have bad days. Those days where you don't want to get out of bed, or when going to the post office seems like a ridiculous chore that we just can't do, and we have this to-do list that just never gets done. I'm someone who honestly has never suffered with depression, and yet even I fall to these, issues in life. Like, we all stumble at these points where we just can't get out of bed on a bad day. It may be something that triggers it, like a death of someone close. It may be a breakup. It may be just things aren't going well with our jobs, with our work. So how do we get out of that? And how do I answer this question in a way that includes both people who do suffer from debilitating depression and people who don't? And what are the differences? First thing to acknowledge, of course, is that everyone is different in what affects them and how it affects them and the chemical imbalances in their brain. We all have imbalances, they affect us in different ways. But in general, there are a lot of steps that we can take to get out of bed on those bad days, to move forward in the right direction. And I'll try to at least share a couple of those with you guys, and hopefully they resonate a little bit, or at least maybe the next time it happens, you can do it. One of the things that I always do when it comes to getting out of bed on a bad day is just having a morning routine. And that morning routine could be anything from drinking a cup of water to back to when I used to drink coffee, and just the process of making in the morning is what I looked forward to. I may not have looked forward to going to work that day, but I looked forward to that cup of coffee that was going to wake me up, pick me up just a little bit. For some people, it might be something as simple as making cereal. It might be reading the newspaper. It might be just getting up and text messaging with friends. The most important thing there, though, is, of course, we cannot do this in bed. Not something that you can do while you are still in bed. But let's say it's not about waking up in the morning. It's about getting motivated when days are bad. But what do you do when you can't push forward? For me, there's 2 main ways, and one of them is beyond my control. The first way that I do that is I really focus on the long term. I don't think about the little short things that I do, and there'll be some people that disagree with me because there is some reason to potentially, just have small things on your list that you check off and you get done a little bit at a time. But for me, I always think about the long-term goals, and I think about the people who inspired me. For someone who likes basketball, you might think about Michael Jordan, who worked ceaselessly since he was cut from his basketball team as a sophomore in high school and just kept working and working and working. And the more that I know and follow people who go through the grind, who have gone through the grind and eventually made it out on top, the more motivation I get. It is part of the process. And maybe that's the best way to put it. Understanding that difficult times, whether it be something related to work, related to your goals, related to your dreams, or just getting over death of someone in the family. It's part of the process. It's part of the grieving process. And in order to get to the happier point at the end of the road, which I don't believe there's an end, But in order to get there, we have to go through these processes. It's when you go to the drink, you go to alcohol, you go to that extra pack of cigarettes that you don't normally smoke in a week. When you go to these things that prevent you from facing these issues, that's when it gets tough, and that's when you actually fall back even harder, and it makes it a lot worse. But if you are able to have the end goal in mind and know that yes, you're going through pain, but this pain is part of the process. Even everyone says, right? You will say it, 1 step back, 2 steps forward. Even when we go back, we have to know that's part of the process. When we fail a little bit, when we stumble, when we mess up on our diet, when we get an F in a class, when these things happen, you have to remember it is part of the process. And remembering it's part of the process is one of the best ways to keep pushing forward. Doesn't mean you're going to like what you're doing. Doesn't mean you're going to enjoy waking up and doing your morning errands. It doesn't mean you're going to like going to work. But if you keep the long term in mind, it works. And so just to add on to that, if you have someone that you know that you can follow, whether it's someone who you can read an autobiography on or a biography on, you can watch them on YouTube and see their struggles, their past, what they went through. If you can find someone like that, that is one of the ways to remind yourself that those people also went through the struggle, just like everyone else who was successful, not on their parents', money or something. That's how you can remember it. Now here's the key, another part of it. Oftentimes it's not enough to do it on our own. And so when I said there was something else that I need to do to get out of bed, get motivated on a bad day, truthfully, it comes down to your friends and family. And as a friend or as someone who is seeing somebody else going through a difficult time, we have to be there for them. And maybe it's just getting them out of bed and saying, hey man, look, I'm outside in your neighborhood. Let's go get like a quick bite to eat, anything, getting them out of the house. It might be just listening to them. It might be going over and hanging out and not saying a word. But sometimes we do need that little bit of a motivation or reminder that we are worth it, or we have something out there, or maybe just that push to get out of bed in the morning. I don't know. But oftentimes, whether it be depression or just not being motivated, it's not enough to be on our own. It's difficult. And so maybe if you're that friend, you need to encourage them and say, it is okay to seek help. It is okay to see a therapist. It is okay to cry in public. It is okay to ask for help. The first part of the equation is that pep talk motivation. But the second part really is having people around you or being that person for other people to help them get out of that motivation funk. So to get out of motivational funk, we've got to be focused on the long term, because obviously if you're not motivated in the short term, that's not your issue. We need to have long-term plans, long-term things keeping us going. It might be providing for your kid. It might be a long-term goal on YouTube. It might be a long-term goal in sports. But we also need the other part of the equation, which is a support network. And if you don't have that support network or someone who's going to be your friend right now, and you're not depressed or you're not demotivated now, it is important to set up those social networks so that if something happens, somebody is there for you. That's how I get through my motivational slumps. All right. Hopefully that answered your question. Thanks a lot. Who was that? Was that Seventh? I think it was Seventh. Thank you so much for sending that in. Really appreciate it. And of course, everyone, if you have a chance, send in any questions you have and I'll answer them down below. Of course, below, if I haven't answered it yet, I send it again. Just keep sending it forever. Because unfortunately, it's Mika's fault that he didn't choose your question. Yes. All right, what are the other 2 questions we got coming out again?
The top 10 things you got accustomed, you didn't get rid of?
The things, I would say definitely dinner culture. I love it. It's just great. The transportation system here it's amazing. You don't need a car to get around. And I think the community too, like it's the community that we build here, not just with Koreans, but with other foreigners as well. That's something that I would sincerely miss. Other people who have come to Korea and picked up their lives and came here, we have a bond here. So I'll go with 3 for now, since 10 is a lot. What was the other one?
Looks or personality in your partner?
100% personality. Because the way that I view my happiness is eventually in life, I will be judging my life based on how I feel when I'm in a retirement home or on my deathbed. And at the end of life, if you are able to stay with the same partner the whole time, I hate to say it, guys, bad news, we're all going to get physically pretty ugly. Like, but it's not ugly. Like, when you have a personality that beams and shines out of it. You know, think about the cute, adorable grandparents. That physical ugliness disappears when you see their love or their happiness. So 100% personality. Cool. Y'all know what to do. First of all, again, thank you, Mika, for coming out here to help me with that. Go ahead and give this video a like if you enjoyed it, or if you didn't, because, hey, beat the narcissism. And of course, if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe, because you'll get all this content every Wednesday, soon to be Friday, definitely Sunday, and eventually more whenever I figure that stuff out. You want to know when I'm talking, right? So that'll let you know. Click the bell if you haven't done that already. And of course, leave a comment about this topic, whether you agree, disagree, or what you actually use for motivation, because I would love to learn from you. And of course, go ahead and give a question for next week. This was Alex, Uncut. As real as it gets.